Yo,
Yo.
the recording has started. I have pockets in my shirt, and I hope this time the audio will be better in the recording. देखते वो भी.
Yes, hopefully. I have
Hopefully.
tea.
Yeah. This is the second part of our paranormal conversation. So, if you want to know more about paranormal things and our perspective on paranormal things, then check the first part out. Now, I have an update.
Okay.
So the first part, I talked in length about this group of people who go to paranormal investigation, and I called a guy Jack, whose name is Jake, but uh, this guy has released a video a few days ago saying that now it is final that he does not believe in the existence of ghosts.
Okay.
Okay.
But he goes around and looks for ghosts.
Yeah, because it's the curiosity of your mind, which is all right. But but establishing the existence of ghost in his perspective is not possible or proven, because and the entire theory of ghost is man-made, and all the devices which are made to detect ghosts are man-made. None of the ghosts have made any device to detect themselves, and
I just know about one device. I guess it's the infrared. That thing, जो infrared waves को catch करता है.
the thing is, these electronic devices catch upon your electrical signals, right? Your electrical signals and electrical impulses. And the way we are in this society right now, there is supposed to be something or the other which reflects electrical energy in any atmosphere, no matter where you are, except if you're in a jungle.
Okay.
Right? If you're in a building, if you're in a city, if you're in a town, there is supposed to be at least, if not anything else, there at least supposed to be one electrical pole somewhere,
Yes.
which may give out these signals.
Mm.
So no matter where you go, if you have electricity around that specific area, the infrared and anything electronic which can detect ghosts can pick up on the electrical impulses. So that's one thing. Ouija board is a board, and that's it. It's a
True.
it's a piece of cardboard, which was, in his words, which was made in a toy store somewhere, and the guy profited millions upon these belief that you can summon ghosts out of this. Right? Even there are those detecting rods and all which you hold, and it directs those rods towards what the ghost answer is, or in some direction. But those rods are so sensitive and so forward heavy. There are this type of rods, two of them, and they detect your space, right? But they are so forward heavy, and you hold them so still that they still have a way to just deflect themselves on their own, even if you're not moving them.
Kind of like magnetism, I guess.
Yeah, you can say even if there's a whistle of wind, it can move because the weight is forward heavy.
Uh-huh.
right? So that all of this is his own words. Ki no matter how deeply you try to find ghosts with equipments, you can't, because all of them are man-made. The second point is, whenever you go to a haunted place, there's this situation of, I don't know if you have experienced one of those paranormal experiences where your adrenaline is just shot up. So you're hyper alert to anything which happens in your surroundings, right? So whenever you go to these places, you have a tendency to catch on things and sounds and even a gush of wind without any context behind it, and put your own context to that and say that you have proven what you're supposed to prove because your mind is biased.
So technically, uh, the whatever the impulses that the objects are
No,
getting,
no,
it's
I'm
hard.
not. I'm not talking about the objects anymore. I'm just talking about knocks or sounds, because if you are anywhere, you'll have some source of sound somewhere, right? So you tend to catch up on those knocks and those sounds and those wind movements very minutely when you're in this hyper adrenaline state of mind. So those things are going to be there anyway in your elements, but you tend to put your own bias into those and say that we have discovered ghost or ghosts answering.
Yeah, like we see and hear what we want to see and hear.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Add a haunted place to it and your adrenaline goes up, and you finally you finalize your hypothesis
Yeah,
just by being in that place.
you're right.
Right.
This is a very biased situation.
And the final thing is that he's a collector of, these serial killer arts and all.
Dang.
Yeah, and he has a lot of these demonic boxes and all. So he's a collector, and his own words is ki you're supposed to have a negative energy or a bad aura in presence of these objects, right?
Uh-huh.
You're supposed to have them, but these are just objects, and he hasn't felt any difference in his place or around those objects ever, even in his old house, even in his new house, which
Mm,
says that no matter how much you put your own thoughts towards objects having energy,
mm.
they don't.
So that puts the whole conjuring doll in shades.
Yeah, it's an object. You are telling me that a cotton ball is haunted?
Uh-huh.
Cotton ball with two buttons,
Mm.
right? So he collects these items and he's like, I know they are supposed to be haunted, or they are supposed to have any energy attached to them, but I haven't felt any of it. And the association is human mind based.
Mm.
We base our association with these objects, but there isn't anything I have felt because I don't associate anything with those items,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was the update.
I mean, I agree to it 100%. Kyuki, for example, even if it's just this cup that I'm holding, once I start associating this with spirituality, and once I started associating with positive energy, and I worship this, I give this flowers, and just worship it, it's going to make me believe that somehow this is affecting my life, somehow this is causing something in my energy, something positive, or if I think of it in a negative way, then it's going to give me something negative. right? So yeah, I agree 100%. It's the brain, that's all.
So that's the thing.
That was the
So the topic I went on and on for in the last thing, which got halfway edited, is debunked by their own member, which is good because it's supposed to be a genre of entertainment. It's not supposed to be a proof
exactly.
of
Mhm.
ghost, right?
But
So
you know, the most creepy kind of videos that I've ever witnessed are the ones which don't have any context. I saw this video. Uh, then there was this big YouTuber reacting to that video, and उस वीडियो में क्या था? There were four boys, and वो एक कार में है, and they're traveling in on the you know they're from the US, and they're traveling, and वो ना एक वो होता है, बोर्ड होता है जिसपे जगह का नाम लिखा होता है. I don't know what that board called.
stop sign, I
No
think.
idea. Stop.
Stop
I don't
sign
know,
or
but it
direction
was the
sign, either of them.
direction sign, something like that. Okay, and they're traveling, and apparently that road leads to nowhere. Okay, that's what they've heard, and they're talking in that video. They're talking to each other that how this road leads to nowhere, but they still go through it. It's a arch type, वो होता है ना जो tunnel से होते हैं, and then it's a small tunnel, and then they go through it, and then उसके बाद after going through the tunnel, they are again on the road. They're back on the road, but they're traveling. They take about 3 turns, uh, and they're just in the video. They're traveling in straight line, but somehow they always end up back, to that board, near that board, and that happens with them about 3 to 4 times, and then मेरे goosebumps आ गए. And then what happens is the last time that they reach that sign, there's this man who has this pori on his head, and he has a knife, and then it could very much be staged. I'm not, I don't want to believe that it's true. It could very much be staged. And then that man is holding a knife, and he has this pori on his head. And then he just starts, वो उसमें से एक लड़का निकल के गाड़ी से बाहर जाता है. And he tries to approach that guy. For what reason, I don't know. And then he goes, and then वो उसके पीछे भागने लग जाता है, and then I think वीडियो के एंड में all of the 4 people get murdered.
So
Yeah,
that stage,
that's staged, but उसका जो क्रिएटर, मतलब जिस भी बंदे ने वो वीडियो अपलोड करी थी, एक तो ये ऐसी वीडियोस ना पता नहीं कौन अपलोड करता है. देयर इज नो पर्टिकुलर प्रोफाइल. कुछ भी लोग कुछ भी अपलोड करते हैं. इट वाज वेरी, it lacked a lot of context, but it was really creepy.
the entire aura of Blair Witch Project is around this only, where you're just recording things without any context. It's not supposed to be a production. It's not supposed to have any effects. It's not supposed to have any narration. It's just recording of an incident,
Exactly.
and they are way creepier. So one thing I want to ask about that story, do you know the direction, the amount of time it took for those people to get from that one particular spot to back to that one particular spot?
Because I was watching that video, which was uploaded by the YouTuber who was reacting to that video. So it was cut. Many parts were cut. But I guess the original video was around 20 minutes. But that YouTuber cut it to about 9 minutes. So yeah, I think it was about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I thought you had some insight.
And no, if you cut those videos out, even as a YouTuber reacting to the thing, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of elements missing which can be debunked, right?
True.
If the video is of
मतलब
20 minutes
हाँ,
and it's
now that I
actually
think
of
about
4
it,
hours,
yeah,
then they can have taken a long curve back to that own place, right?
yeah.
So you can't say
Now
that.
that I think about it, it was pretty much staged. Yep. But even if it was staged, it was creepy.
Okay, so that's the end of discussion. Let's get into our ghost stories. The
Yeah, baby.
story we told in the previous video will be queued right now, and uh, that's why there's a change of clothes and audio, and enjoy.
Yes.
First story starts with me. Now,
Your
yeah, I have two stories, my personal
okay.
experiences. The
Okay.
first one was in my previous society, as I have explained to you the entire layout of my society. Right?
Mhm.
So I was on a call around 11 p.m. and 11 p.m. was a little late for a guy who has college the next day, right? So but I was still roaming around the society. I was just walking. So I was on a call with a friend, and I got tired of roaming around, so I went and sat down on a park bench. Now the thing was, if the bench is here, then here is a lamppost, and behind that is a building. Right. Now this is the only source of light which I have for the park, and this is the bench. So there is no source of light behind this, right? So I was sitting on this bench and I was talking to the friend, and uh, uh, on my peripheral vision, I see a shadow go from the right to left within a second. It was quick, but not that quick. It was a human shadow, and it. I was looking down at the grass and talking to a friend, and it went from there to there. Right? I ignored it because I thought it may be something else, maybe a bird, maybe something, because I couldn't make out if it was a human shadow in that second. But I felt a movement, right?
Ah.
So in a few seconds, I get my first call from home, which is uh, which is okay because it's 11 and I'm supposed to be back home and I'm supposed to have dinner and sleep because there's college tomorrow. Right. So I get the first call, I ignore it, I keep talking to the friend. Now just the call stops and then I get another call, which is weird because my mother, as far as I know her, she doesn't call me twice. If she calls me once and the phone gets disconnected or I'm busy, she she believes that I will get back home after that first reminder. Yeah. So I get the second call and I ignore that as well. And I cut the call this time. Right? I cut the call, I pick my phone back to my ear, and now I'm looking straight down. So my vision is straight down to the grass, and it hasn't been the initial blurry out of focus vision yet. Right? Now this time the shadow moves slowly from left to right, and I could make out that it was a human shadow this time. So I hung up.
So it was on the path जहाँ पे source of light नहीं था.
The source of light was on top of my head. So if
Uh-huh.
an object had to move, it has to move from top of my head. Right. The first
To
time
create
it went,
shadow.
yeah, to create a shadow.
Mm.
So the first time it went from right to left. The second time it slowly went from left to right.
Okay. Trying to catch some attention.
Yeah, I guess. So I immediately cut the call because I got a little conscious and I ran up back home. Second floor, not a big issue to run. I wasn't going to use the lift, so because I was shit scared. So I ran up. Now I ring the bell, mother opens the door. I get inside, and my question was that why did you call me twice? You know I'll come up eventually, right after the first one. So she says that I got a text from the society group that guy has committed suicide in the next building. So that's why I was going to call you because there's going to be police and all ambulance and all coming.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
So I had in the I went to sleep. That's it. That was the first one.
What do you think? Like, why do you think that even if it was that the person who died, why was that person trying to catch your attention? Your
Probably because
attention.
I was the only one around that circumference at that time. There was no guard, there was no one. There was this lonely park, and I was the only one sitting.
So maybe that person, that spirit was trying to tell you that they have passed away and no one had seen it till then.
I don't think the spirit had anything to do with me. I think it was on its path. It's just, it just happened to be
Damn.
that I was in. Yeah.
Next story.
This one I don't have an explanation for, and I'm not even going to debunk this because it never happened after. So I'm fine with that in the past. Next story is more of an experience of sleep
On
paralysis.
sleep paralysis. Yeah.
Now this is
20
between,
minutes.
now this is between sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming, which is
Okay.
very weird.
Which
If
is
you think
what?
about it. Which is very weird if you think about
Uh-huh.
it. Right. So previous society only. If this is the room, that is where the door is, and exactly where my bed is right now, that's where my bed is. Right.
Okay.
So
This is from your previous society.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it was, I don't know, it was midnight or something. It was pitch black. Right.
Uh-huh.
So I was sleeping. Then my eyes open, and I see myself there.
Uh-huh.
So I was standing there beside my door, and I was looking
But you were
at, yeah, my soul was there by the door, and I was looking at my body, which was there on the bed. Right? Now, this is where the problem begins. I look at my body, and there is this shape of a woman, very old, fragile woman, sitting on my chest, crouched down, wearing a torn shroud. You know what a shroud is, right? Wearing a torn shroud, uh, open hair, grayish silver, and looking at me over there with her eyes blank and mouth wide open, as if to taunt me that you are still outside, you can't do anything, this body is mine. Right?
aggressive.
Yeah, very. I stand there for a second. I'm in complete shock because this is a jarring vision to look at. And I shut my eyes, I open my eyes, I have sleep paralysis. There's a pain in my chest. I can't get up. And
So you could feel that person's sitting.
wait.
I could feel a weight on my chest and over there. Right. Now, I don't know how long it lasted because I didn't have a watch or anything. As I said, it was pitch black. That's all I knew for the time. And the thought of you not being able to get up when you just saw an image of a woman that aggressive sitting on your chest, sitting on your chest, that's pretty mentally scarred. So when I got up, I went down.
Traumatized.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was living alone at that time. So I just took my phone. I don't know what time it was. I have no recollection of anything. I all I recall is wearing my slippers and running out of my house.
You have suppressed that memory. It was so scarring. You suppressed the damn memory.
Yeah, I have the story in my brain, but I just all I know after
You
that.
forgot the details.
Yeah. I forgot the process of getting up from my bed till going down to sit in my car. So
Uh-huh.
so that was my second story. Now let's come to your stories.
Mine, I'll just share one story. Okay. And it was like my father. Okay, two maybe. Small stories.
Sure.
So I was talking to my father about some of the cases he has experienced, जो थोड़े like पापा को भी थोड़ा वैसा लगाओ कि yeah, this is something I can't handle. So one of the stories was कि एक बच्चा, he is about 7 or 8 years old, and दुनिया का कोई ऐसा नशा, कोई ऐसा ड्रग, कोई ऐसा इंजेक्शन नहीं जो उसने ना किया हो. And he's not even rich, he's small, he's from a poor family, but he has done drugs. उसको पता नहीं पैसे कहाँ से मिलते हैं, but कोई ऐसा नशा नहीं जो उसने ना करा हो. Then अब what was happening was, क्योंकि अब भाई 7 साल का बच्चा है, he is doing drugs, वो बॉडी पे बहुत ज्यादा इफेक्ट करने लग गया था. एंड उसके पेरेंट्स उसको रिहेबिलिटेशन सेंटर्स वगैरह, नशा मुक्ति केंद्र टाइप होते हैं, दे ट्राइड टू मतलब वहां पे लेके गए, बट इट वाज ऑल इन वेन. कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ा उसको. वो आया एंड ही स्टार्टेड डूइंग इट. बाय दैट टाइम ही वाज आई गेस 9. तो बिल्कुल हार के उसके पेरेंट्स मेरे पापा के पास लेकर आए उस बच्चे को. सो पापा ने whatever he does, अगरबत्ती घुमाई अपनी, देखा क्या चल रहा है in his vision, and he tells me कि उसके ऊपर शिवजी आए हुए थे. तो मैंने कहा शिवजी, मतलब पहले से मेरे को ना बड़ा वियर्ड लगता था. like, भगवानों के पास इतना फ्री टाइम होता है कि किसी के भी ऊपर जाके चले जाते हैं. पर माय फादर सेड कि उसके ऊपर शिवजी आए हुए हैं. तो मैंने कहा क्यों, ऐसा क्या था कि उसके ऊपर शिवजी आए हुए हैं? बिकॉज वी नो शिवजी एज समवन, as a god of, he does drugs and everything, proper नशा रहता है. तो मैंने कहा कि क्यों, शिवजी क्यों थे उसके ऊपर? तो माय फादर टेल्स मी कि इस बच्चे ने, जब ये 5 साल का था, when he was 5, इसने शिवजी के मूर्ति के आगे से 2 रुपए उठाए थे. like no, he was not 5, he was 7 only. उसने शिवजी की मूर्ति के आगे से 2 रुपए उठाए थे, एंड ही वेंट एंड ही बॉट अ बीड़ी फॉर हिमसेल्फ, एंड उसने वो पी, एंड वो जो चुराए हुए पैसे थे और उसने जो उससे नशा किया, वो ही चीज उसके ऊपर हावी हो गई. एंड उसका फिर वो लाइक शिवजी ने मतलब उसकी मार लेते थे उसके बाद से. बट देन जब ये चीज पता लगी कि उसके ऊपर शिवजी आए हुए थे, देन मेरे पापा ने अपना जो भी उनका प्रोसेस है वो किया, तो वो ठीक हो गया था. ऐसे एक और लड़का था, वो बड़ा था, ही वाज इन 10th आई गेस. वो क्या करता था, दुनिया मतलब दुनिया नहीं, मतलब whenever he saw himself in a mirror, he would go and smash his nose in the mirror. पता नहीं क्यों, ये मेरे पापा से ये वाला केस सॉल्व नहीं हुआ आज तक. मतलब वो जब भी वो शीशे में अपने आप को देखता था, वो अपनी नाक तोड़ता था. उसकी कम से कम 5-6 सर्जरी हो रखी है उसकी नाक की अभी भी टू दिस डे. एंड ये मेरे को, ये किसी को नहीं समझ आया कि वो ऐसा क्यों करता है. आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग साइकोलॉजिकल जो कोई पिन पॉइंट नहीं कर पा रहा है.
Okay, so the paranormal, I won't call this ghost stories, I'll call this paranormal experiences of people. Right. So I have two more experiences of my own with my friend. Then
Okay.
I'll get into people's stories, which they have shared. Right. So the first is not only we were strolling at night around 11:30 in his previous society where he used to live.
Okay.
I used to stay at his place because the society was I would call it under construction and abandoned at the same time.
It's always those sites.
Yeah, it is.
Always.
Yeah, it is. So even he was not very comfortable staying there, but it was just a temporary place where he had to stay until his place gets made.
So he was alone.
Yeah, he used to live there alone with the tenant, I guess, landlord, with the landlord. And I used to go there because he used to be alone in his own circle, right? It was just the beginning of our semester and he didn't know anybody else. So I used to be with him. So one night we didn't have any vehicle. This is where we get shit bored and we just want to escape this 2 BHK and go somewhere just for a walk, right? So 11:30 we go down, we start strolling and we see guards at the end of this road, right? So we go there, we talk to them. It was winter, starting winter time. So we went inside the cabin of the guards and we were just talking. So the guards were like, don't cross this society's boundaries because it's late and it's not safe for just people to roam around, right? If you have a vehicle, then it's all right. Just don't roam around at night. So we're like, fine. And my friend is like, why? And the guard says that there have been a lot of murders and all around these areas, and so we don't advise on leaving the society, the perimeters of the society, right? So we started going to different blocks of the society now because we were bored.
हाँ. मतलब
Now,
चुल तो है ही.
huh. Now if this is his tower,
हाँ.
this is the guard post,
हम्म.
and this is the road, right? So we came back from this side and started going this side because we wanted to stroll a little more. So we crossed this path, nothing happened, and we were just wondering about these murder mysteries, and those went into ghost stories, and those went into your black magic stories, and so on.
Discussion.
Yeah. So we were just talking, and we stepped at this point where he's like, I need to pee, so I'll find somewhere to pee. I said, fine. Now, the first thought in my head is, if this place has a building right here, which is under construction,
Uh-huh.
which has no wall, no windows, nothing, just a structure.
Uh-huh.
And the same right here. This entire place, this entire sector of the society is just buildings under construction. And here are 3 under construction buildings. So this is not a very good, well-lit place to go and pee.
To pee.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, fine, you go ahead. I'll just keep walking. Because if something happens, I need to run. So the moment he went to this direction and I said, okay, fine, you go, I'll keep walking. I looked at him while saying these words, and there were these 2 eyes staring at us behind the fence.
Just eyes.
Just eyes.
How do you know they were eyes?
Because they were glowing in the dark with this much space and this apart in front of a building. So this is the road. This is the road. This is where I'm at. This is the fence. Here are the eyes. Here is the building. Right. So the first thing, I didn't think of it as much, but later on I thought that, okay, fine, they were eyes. So I looked at his direction. I saw the eyes. I was like, fine, whatever. I keep walking. A second later, there was this massive iron clanking noise on the fence. On the fence.
Oh no!
Here's the fence. Here is the building. There's nothing in between. And there's a massive iron rod clanking noise on the fence.
In between the building and the fence.
On the fence.
मतलब कि किसी ने जैसे करके ऐसे वो आयरन रॉड से ऐसे किया.
Not in a moving direction, but just one thud. Right. So I hear the sound, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, sacrifice, I'm gonna run. So I run. And a few seconds later, I hear slipper noises, and I see my friend also running. Yeah, I see my friend also running. And after, if we are here, this is the building. We have covered this much. We have covered this much in 30 seconds.
So it was a long road, but you covered in 30 seconds.
What took us 15 minutes to get here took us 30
covered
seconds
in
to
30
get.
seconds?
Yeah. We stopped when we saw another guard post, and we were like, finally light. And I asked him, why did you run? So he's like, I asked him why he ran. So he's like, first of all, because I saw you running. And secondly, there was a loud noise right in front of me. And it came from in front of my direction. So I was like, okay.
Towards him?
Sorry?
It wasn't any fence this time. It was just straight up towards him.
No, there was a fence. And the noise came from right in front of him on the fence. So he could feel the vibrating fence.
Oh my God. So he was peeing and then somebody did this on the fence?
He was about to. He had just turned.
उसकी पिस वापस चले गई होगी.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He just turned and he saw a fence vibrating with a loud noise right before it. Right.
Dang.
So I was like, okay.
Very के 16
then I said, fine, I understand your concern, but did you know I saw eyes right behind your head? Like a few seconds before that. He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, let's go home. So
Let's go.
yeah. So we ditched the entire night plan and we went back home and we slept the night. So that was one. And this old
Good.
yeah, this previous place of his was really shady.
Uh,
You have buildings and then you have shady buildings, right? This was one of those shady buildings, and he
I've
one
got one story.
sure.
Sorry, what were you saying?
One time he was sleeping after college, so you know how tiring college is. He came back, he fell asleep. He woke up 3 or 4 hours later with his phone's battery on 1%
Uh-huh.
and his light had gone. His place's light had gone, right?
Mm.
So he decided to see what's happening, but he couldn't really move because he was hearing a breathing sound from behind his head in the bed. So he switched on his phone. So he switched on his phone. He tried to switch on the flashlight, which didn't happen because one
One.
person's battery. And as soon as he was able to switch on the flashlight, the phone died. And
Uh-huh.
there was no light, so there was no charging or anything of that sort. So he just laid there for another 15 to 20 or whatever, half an hour, and just tried to go to sleep with the conscience of something behind him breathing on his bed.
Does he have a pet?
No. And no, his landlord wasn't there that day. So
I
so
mean, if I heard something like this and like light bhi gayi hai and phone bhi nahi hai mere paas and there's something breathing on my neck from behind me, मेरी सांसें वहीं रुक जाएंगी. I swear.
he wanted to run and all, but it's a he lived in he lived on 11th floor. Where will you run? How far will you
Right,
run when when there's a power outage,
exactly.
right? So
Damn.
the next day he went back to his place and came after a week or
Mm.
something when things got settled down.
But still, like, how did you know कि things got settled down after a week?
No, he got
So,
settled down.
acha, he was stable.
Yeah, he was stable after that.
Well, I have one story. I don't know if you know about chalawa. Do you know what a chalawa is?
I know the word, I don't know the context.
Chalawa is basically, मतलब हिंदी में इसका नाम छलावा है, and in English you can call them shapeshifters, I guess.
Okay,
But
I know what it is.
with a but with a really negative connotation to it in Hindi. So what they do is, if you encounter a chalawa, so they will shapeshift into something that is really dear to you or someone you are really close to, and then try to lure you into going with them, probably like to murder you or something. So I have this story my cousin sister told me. Her friend at that time, her best friend, she was explaining how what happens is that pregnant women are really susceptible to these things, if you know about this. So when her friend, my cousin sister's friend, she was about to be born, her mother was lying in bed, and they're like really rich people. So they had maids and they had peons and they had that one Ramu Kaka Bhaiya types. So she's lying in bed and she was susceptible to these, छलावा type things. So what happens is, जो लड़की ये बता रही है, जो पेट में थी उस टाइम पे, उसकी बड़ी बहन, she was about 6 years at that time, 6 years old. तो क्या होता है कि उसकी मम्मी, she is lying in bed and she, उनको आई गेस पेट में ना हल्का सा पेन उठता है, उनको पेन उठा हल्का सा, and she is lying and she tries to call भैया जो वहां पे उनके काम करते हैं. उन्होंने मेड्स को आवाज लगाने की कोशिश करी बट किसी ने सुना नहीं. एंड उतने में क्या होता है, पंखा धीरे धीरे करके बंद हो जाता है, पंखा बंद हो जाता है, लाइट भी डिम हो जाती है. एंड क्या होता है कि उतने में ना उनको आवाज आती है कि उनकी जो बड़ी बेटी है, फुटस्टेप्स तो पता लग ही जाते हैं लोगों के कि कैसे कौन वो होता है. तो उनकी बड़ी बेटी शी रन्स उनके गेट के, जो उनका बेडरूम का गेट है उसके सामने से, शी गोज लाइक दिस. एंड तो आंटी ने अपनी बड़ी बेटी को आवाज लगाने की कोशिश करी बट नोबडी इज कमिंग, शी इज नॉट लिसनिंग. ना ही उनके कोई मेड, ना ही कोई पियोन, कोई नहीं सुन रहा. एंड व्हाट हैपेंस इज, आफ्टर अ व्हाइल उनकी बड़ी बेटी, शी कम्स and she stands in the doorway, in the on the threshold. She stands there and she goes like this. कोई नहीं सुन रहा आपकी बात. She goes like this, but it was a lot creepier. I'm not that creepy. So she goes like that, and the mother recognizes that she is not her daughter. She recognizes, and she's lying in bed and she's absolutely pale and she's sweating. She's, the typical rush of adrenaline. एंड उतने में क्या होता है कि वो जो उनके पियोन होते हैं वो भाग के आते हैं एंड वो देखते हैं कि शी इज लाइंग इन दिस कंडीशन. फिर वो आते हैं, पंखा बढ़ाते हैं एंड उनको पानी वानी देते हैं. उतने में क्या होता है, जो उनकी बेटी, बड़ी बेटी है, वो भाग के आती है, द रियल बेटी, वो भाग के आती है एंड शी कम्स एंड द मदर रिफ्यूजेस टू टॉक टू हर, मतलब उसकी डायरेक्शन में देखना भी, बिकॉज शी वाज सो शिट स्कैर्ड कि ऑब्वियसली, आई मीन, तुम्हारे साथ ये हुआ है. एंड शी कुड सी दैट अदर डॉटर, द छलावा, that she was hovering in the air about this much. And just imagine looking at something like that. So yeah, that was the story. It really gave me the creeps.
Was there a backlight when the Chalawa daughter came in the room?
I don't think so. No.
Because that would have been amazing.
Yeah. This is just one thing, one story, but I have heard many stories about Chalawa. I mean, सबसे ज़्यादा यही सुना है कि pregnant women को ज़्यादा, they are very susceptible to this. And the concept of Chalawa is very good. I mean, it's not good. It's very creepy.
The concept of shapeshifters have been there in every culture, right? So there may be something in that department.
मेरे पीछे से शोर आ रहा है क्या?
थोड़ा बहुत.
अच्छा, मतलब बॉदर तो नहीं कर रहा ना?
None.
अच्छा, हाँ, जैसे कि हम लोगों में ये छलावा होता है. In Muslims, I think it's the jinns.
I don't think jinns are shapeshifters. Jinns are just those evil spirits. They are just other people who are living among us.
One of my friends, he told me that कोई बच्चे की रोने की आवाज आ रही है क्या?
It's better for the ambience.
But like, he told me that jinns are good and bad both. They're not just bad spirits, they're also good spirits.
They just live among us in this plane and they don't like to be disturbed. That's it. That's the entire concept of jinn.
you try to like
Get in their
push
space.
हाँ तो वो तुम्हारे स्पेस में आएंगे. It's a very two-way road, you know.
It's your basic animal instinct, if you can call it that.
Yeah. I mean, there was this one time where when my grandfather, my mother's father passed away. She told me that my grandmother, her mother, she saw the spirit or the soul coming out of his body from his mouth, like in a really small light ball of blue light, ball of blue light coming from his mouth. And I've heard that if it depends on which part of your body was active when you died, or which part of your body was in trouble. Like my grandfather's lungs were in trouble. He had lung cancer when he passed away, so it came from his mouth. But there are some people, my mother told me this only, that there were some people that she knew who passed away and their skull, the ball of light came out from their skull. And sometimes what happens is that the skull opens up about this much for the light to come outside, like फट जाता है वो उतना area. I've never seen it, and I don't believe it.
It's your post-mortem body trying to get your air and toxins out of your body. That's the thing. After you're dead, when you're a corpse, there was a lot of farting and a lot of
That I know, that a lot of
gases coming out of you, right? So it's one of them.
But what I don't get is the ball of light. That's what I don't get.
This is the first time I'm hearing about this, so I don't have any concept around.
I understand. I mean, yeah, it's a hard thing to wrap around your head. Yeah.
Now let's come to people's stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You must start with the story which Gigi told you.
No, that's the climax, right?
Oh my god, okay.
That's the climax, plus there's a transition between another story which is kind of similar to that story, which is in front of it. Okay, so the stories.
Yes.
All right. Let's start with Bailey's story. Now, the time I asked Bailey about her story, the first thing she said was, "Holy shit, I just came up with a scenario in my head yesterday about this happening." So that's funny.
What kind of scenario came up?
I don't know, I didn't ask.
Oh. Should have.
Yeah. Okay, so the story is, I'll narrate the story, right? So the story is, my mother was like 20 years old and my sister and I were toddlers. So we don't remember a thing. But the story is my mom's paranormal experience she told me about. Just going to say this right now, my mom and I don't believe in ghosts or anything, but this one experience truly is unexplainable, and I swear up and down, my mom didn't lie and make up a story to scare me or something. So the story is, it was around midnight. My sister and I were sleeping on the couch with our mom. Earlier, she had sat her cup in the drying rack after washing it and laid down with my sister and I about 30 minutes after which she heard a shattering noise in the kitchen. When she walked back to the kitchen, she saw her cup into pieces on the ground. Maybe a few other dishes too, I don't remember. My mother knows for a fact that the cup and the drying rack was nowhere near the edge, and we didn't have any pets at that point. So she comes to the conclusion that there's got to be an intruder. She's freaking out and calls her best friend, asking to come over right that instant. She was even more scared since she was home alone without my dad there because he was on duty for the military. Her friend welcomed her over, trying to calm my mom down, so she carries my sister and I to the car and heads on over to her best friend's house. My mom claims to have calmed down and felt fine after a lot of talking with her friend, and it was almost like a regular hangout until there was another shattering noise in the kitchen at her friend's house. My mom is now horrified even more, and her friend is scared too, but wants to calm the situation down and tells her it's probably a coincidence. But again, the cups were nowhere near the edge of the counter, and there weren't pets who could have knocked them down. They never came up with an explanation for this phenomenon. My mom didn't mess with spirits or anything. She never believed in anything, and there was no one else in the house, and that's all I have to tell.
What do you think could be?
So the rest of the story is sorry it didn't. Sorry, it does kind of feel like a cliffhanger, but all that really happened after that was them cleaning and comforting each other like good friends do. So that's that.
The creepy part really is the fact that
It happened twice.
happened again, huh? And somebody else's house, at somebody else's house. Okay, digestible. Next.
Okay, next. Now the next story is by Silvieta, and I'm totally butchering that name. Sorry. The story is the story is okay. I do have a couple of stories actually. Personally, I sometimes see shadows of people, whether it is in broad daylight or at night, but haven't thought much of it until lately. Still don't know what the hell that is, but earlier this year, I dreamt of my grandfather for the first time since he passed away in 2019. We were next to his childhood home, which has always been our mountain or summer house, like a getaway house. My my grandparents moved to the city to work after I think they shifted from that place to the city. And he was talking to me about why we hadn't gone to the house lately in her dream. We usually go in the spring or summer because weather is really bad the rest of the year. So I told him that. He said the grass needs to be cut, but do not let Romeo do it. Romeo is a neighbor of ours. We don't get along well. Anyway, I forgot about it until I was talking with my mom and aunt, and I mentioned what happened in my dream. My mom looked at me and she said, the other day I was talking to your uncle about cutting the grass, and he said we could have Romeo do it. Now that grandpa has told you this, we will do it ourselves. It was a weird coincidence. So she, in her dream, saw her grandfather asking her not to let Romeo cut their grass, which was not in her subconscious or in the point of conversation at that point. Anyway, she got to know about Romeo being appointed to cut her grass the next day. Okay, the second story I'm guessing is My grandma's sister, she has lots of dreams about people, big events, deaths, and stuff. She told us she dreamt of her brother's death, and the news came the day after that. Proof is that she writes everything down on a journal and then calls my grandma immediately when these things happened. When my grandpa died, a couple months later, she called to tell us that there was something wrong with the grave and we needed to go there. She told us she dreamt of my grandpa at the train station and he was telling her that he lost his luggage and couldn't leave. He kept repeating it and said something like, I have to tell my family I can't go. A few days later, my mom went to the cemetery and some plants and flowers weren't on my grandfather's grave anymore. Those were probably the luggages my grandpa was talking about. IDK thinking about this always gives me chills. So that was the second story.
This is really, really crazy, especially the part where the second cousin grandma has dreams about this stuff.
So both of these stories are dream related, and both of these stories, I think, concern the same person who had passed. They may be different people, but I'm just saying. So in both of them, the grandparent figure is trying to help them out, right? In the first one, he wants her not to let the guy who she doesn't get along with, who they don't get along with, not let him get the thing done. And in the second story, he's just trying to leave. He's just trying to, yeah. But the thing is that there were some plants and flowers which weren't on the grave, which were supposed to be on the grave. So this is one of those family member looking after you kind of a thing, which is a positive thing.
Nice,
Yeah,
sort of.
which is a positive thing. So that's okay. That's an experience, and it is a good experience.
Yeah, it's not like the grandfather was trying to spook them or anything. He just wanted
He
to,
just, yeah,
yeah, he just
he just wanted to
wanted to
warn
warn
them.
them. Uh,
Okay.
Sometimes happens that my grandmother, both of my grandfathers have passed, and sometimes my grandmother from my father's side, uh, she comes and tells my mom and my father as well that she's seen my grandfather in her dreams, and there are certain things that he's telling her, and then when she does those things which he tells her in the dream, she sleeps better. Like,
Hmm.
वो चीजें परेशान करी होती हैं, and then she just sleeps better after she's done with those things. So I guess that's something to ponder over.
In our field of psychology, we usually recommend people to maintain a journal to let their thoughts out, right? It's one of those. Okay, next story. Next story is from Pallavi. Now she says, so I've had a few experiences, but the one that stands out most to me is this ghost that haunted me.
Diving straight in.
Yeah, uh, I know that sounds really dramatic, but it's actually not as bad as it sounds. Around 9 to 10 years ago, when I was 16, I was haunted by what I believed to be a ghost for 2 months. It wasn't scary or dramatic in the least. I've always been a spiritual, a believer of soul energies and stuff. When I was 16, for a few days, I felt like I wasn't alone in my room. There was no real way to pinpoint it, but I felt like I was being watched or that I couldn't be 100% myself because I'm not alone. It was just a vibe. To give context, I don't live in some haunted area. I live in a modern apartment complex that was constructed while we bought the house. The land may have been old, but I'm sure religious steps were taken by believers to ward off spirits and all the Grah Pravesh puja things people do. Uh, anyway, I never felt scared. I found this energy soothing to my own turmoil. I say there because I don't know any gender, but at the time, my reductive teenager self called my ghost him because I picked up masculine energy. The longer I felt the presence, the more I felt responsible for it. I would ask questions out loud I never got verbal answers to, in bracket, duh, but I somehow just knew. My spirit stayed for 2 months and then one day they were gone. I've told about it. I've thought about it a lot since, and I like to believe they were a young, scared soul attaching themselves to the first aura or energy they found. I don't know what they needed from me, what I did or said that finally helped them find peace, but I'm happy I could help if I did in any way. A lot of this hindsight bias at the time I was, a lot of this is hindsight bias. At the time I was going through a lot of mental health trouble, and loneliness and some healthy skepticism. I chalked it up to daydreaming, stress, a vivid imagination, loneliness, etc. But now, since I'm more spiritual, I do tarot, I believe in energies, I see auras. I'm a believer that perhaps accidentally and naively some young soul found my young soul, and we miraculously helped one another, without actively knowing what we were doing. Now I nurse a little more care and healthy fear of ghosts and spirits, but that was almost childish innocence in its belief that whatever was haunting me was doing so because it didn't know better. So this is a spirit. From her point of view, this is a young spirit who was just trying to find his way but wasn't able to, because I don't know what it is to be a spirit, but I'm guessing it's a puzzling phase of afterlife. So
Maybe. I mean, there are times when I've heard stories about souls getting lost in the midway, or because they don't have a home yet, like the afterbirth wala home. So they just roam around till they find a new home. And I was watching Talash the other day. Have you watched Talash?
yes, I have.
Like, yeah, in that film, the woman who is the psychic medium for the boy, his son, Amir Khan's son. Hello.
Arya was Arya.
Acha, हाँ. So the woman who is the psychic medium for Amir Khan's son, she tells him that sometimes the souls, क्योंकि उनकी vibration इतनी low होती है, those souls they attach themselves to the people who have the same energy, who have the frequency, low frequency, because they think, the spirits think that they would be able to help them or they would understand them, something like that. So I think in this case it's possible that the spirit who was latching onto her, not latching, it has a negative connotation, just who was surrounding her, uh, it's possible that that spirit had the same frequency, had the same energy as her, and just wanted to be near her because he found that, or she, or the, we don't know the gender, they just found it to be comforting Because even in that film, Kareena Kapoor was pretty comforted by his presence.
I was looking at the word because I wasn't able to articulate it. It's your purgatory phase, right? Where you're neither,
Purgatory.
yeah, where you're neither on earth, where you're neither beyond life.
Somewhere in
It
the middle.
Yeah, it's one of those. If you believe in judgment, it's one of those before judgment phases.
Huh.
So that's the space the spirit may have been, where the spirit also needed assistance to just figure out what he or she wanted. And Pallavi also was going through a phase of mental health crisis where she wanted to figure things out, and this was one of those experiences which may have helped her. So the next story is by a dear friend of mine,
Okay.
whom I believe when she says something.
Okay.
Right? It's one of those confidant whom you believe in. So uh, it's one of those people who won't lie to you about a story or to make a story up, right? So she has two stories. The first one is the thing which she heard on a trip to a film, towards a film, going to a film shooting, or she's in production. So she was on the way to the process and she heard the story en route. So the story goes, there was this Gujarati couple with a strenuous marriage who went on a vacation to a nearby beach, and the guy was having an affair, and he wanted to end the marriage, and instead of just giving it hard on to the wife, he just took her to a vacation to ease into that conversation, right? But they were having multiple fights throughout the trip, and it wasn't easy for him to just uh, relax in that vacation and be able to convey the message, right? So they're on this trip, they're at a beach, and a guy approaches them. He just says, I'll click your picture for some $150, $100, and I'll send it to you. So they're like, fine. He's one of those guys who just clicks your picture in a scenic place, right? So he's like, fine, just take whatever pictures you want. So he clicks the pictures. They're over with it because they start fighting again, and he's like, fine, जो भी है मेरे को घर जाना वापस, so मतलब hotel जाना वापस. So they go back to the hotel, and for some work purpose or something, he opens his laptop and the pictures are already there. So there's a folder named pictures, and there are pictures in it. Now that happens,
Oops.
yeah, that happens. He doesn't bother onto it as much because they were again in between a fight, and he ignores the entire situation. So okay, so the next day he goes to the reception and asks if there was a guy who had handed over some pictures or a pen drive or a CD. So the reception says that there was a pen drive which was dropped off, and he collects the pen drive. He goes back to his laptop, attaches the pen drive, and there are pictures of just him existing throughout the vacation in that pen drive. Him driving, him sleeping, him being in a specific spot or something. So there are just those pictures. So he gets really angry and he goes to the reception to yell at them because uh, he thinks that they, yeah, he thinks that he is being stalked, and he's like, what kind of security is your hotel administering that there are stalkers in my room who click my pictures.
Those pictures included the pictures which had his wife in them.
I'll get to it later.
Okay, okay.
So he starts going off on the reception people. So they're like, fine, we will be more vigilant about people who are coming to visit our place and all. We will note them out, and we will make sure that we know who's delivering a pack. Even if someone is delivering a package or something, we will note their details and all. So he just gets really stressed out about the situation with the already fight that has been going on, right?
Okay, but how do those pictures come into his laptop?
Bata raha.
Okay.
So
You have
in this
serious.
in this entire process, he's at this breaking point where he's really anxious about this puzzled stalker who's clicking his pictures, and there's a wife he's trying to fight, and there's also a reveal that he's having an affair and he just wants to go ahead with that person, and he has to break that news to her. So finally he breaks the news, and they have a fight again, and the wife locks herself in the closet, and he's like, fine, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm just going back home. I'll leave tomorrow or something, right? So he packs his stuff and he goes back home. He's on his way back home. On his way back home, he stops at a place or something. He opens his laptop and sees pictures of him on the way back home.
So on the way he opens his laptop.
At a pit stop or something
Okay.
for some work or something, and he sees pictures of him driving, pictures of him on his way and all, driving back home. So he's over it now at this point. He's like, jo bhi hai, theek hai, koi baat nahi. He shuts his laptop. He rushes back home. He's like, I want closure from this entire situation. I have closure from my wife already. I just need peace at this point. I just want to go back home, right? So he rushes back home. He sees there's a crowd, there's police, there's a barricade surrounded his place, and everyone is puzzled to see him at his place back home. So he asks the neighbor that what has happened? Why is there police? Why are you guys here? What is your purpose? What is my purpose? Am I going crazy? The police guy says that your wife had died like 3 days back, and she had committed suicide, and she had left a note that I know about your affair, and I know whatever that is going on. I can't live without you, but I can't live with you knowing that you are having an affair. So I'm just going to end my life. So she commits suicide, and because his name was in the note, he he's sent to jail. And when he's released from jail, he gets himself into an institution. So his wife was dead all along, and the pictures were probably clicked by her. Oh yeah, of course, there was no wife in that picture. Forgot to mention.
Oh, so matlab कि in the entire trip, now I get what you meant, that he was just existing in those pictures. Oh, fuck. So like,
So
is this a real story?
yeah, she heard about the story on her way to the shoot. That film got shelved or something, which they were about to make for this story. And there was a news article or something about this person having encountered this situation, and then he was institutionalized. So that's that.
That's that.
I'll get to the second story now. Okay. This starts with the words, not a story, but real incident.
Okay.
It is regarding a visually impaired teenager who believed to see and befriend a lot of spirits since childhood. She was a psychic of some sort.
And she is blind.
Yeah. Her disability had occurred due to an accident in early age, but enhanced her ESP. I don't know what that means. Something related to,
Sixth sense or something.
yeah, something related to that. Her dad didn't like the fact that she treated unknown spirits and entities as friends. They helped her with daily tasks, sometimes with assignments and stuff too. He scolded her and say that what she's going through is a coping mechanism of her brain to make her feel more comfortable, as living sightless is difficult, according to the father. That's why he used to keep poking her against this behavior and worried that someone might think that the girl is mentally challenged. He finally convinced her into taking therapy so that she could make some real friends and not live in delusion. The therapist took several sessions thanks to her parapsychological knowledge, uh, which she specialized in. She finally came the psychologist. She not the girl. She finally came to understand that her dad was actually one of the spirits that the girl used to see, and he died in the accident, in which the girl lost her sight. And this dad was actually a malevolent spirit because he was pissed to have survived, uh, because he was pissed that he didn't survive when his daughter did. The spirits that he was concerned about were actually good spirits who were protecting her throughout her life from this father's spirit to not kill or harm her, hence the reverse manipulation. So the therapist found out that she can't see the thing, but since the therapist can and know what's happening around her, she saw the girl talking to someone who was supposed to be her dad, but there was no one in the room, that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
So her dad was dead.
That really blew me away.
Yep.
Wow. I really don't want something like this to happen to me.
Yeah, it's the vulnerability, right? When you're unable to see and all, you have a family member who you think will support you, and that family member has been dead for the past ages.
Yeah. So
How
the
will you
girl
feel?
didn't know that her father
No, she
passed.
never felt her father had passed. He was just a pissed voice in her background who was against her talking to spirits.
So she didn't know that her father passed.
Had passed.
So she didn't have a mother or a sibling and
I don't think
all
so.
that. Hmm.
Next story.
Yes.
Okay, so this is long of a a little long of a story,
Uh-huh.
which I'll just read out as a whole.
Okay.
Another friend of mine who I'd believe, this was back in 2013. I was 11 and my 12th birthday was coming up, for the celebrations of which my two aunts decided to take me and my brother on a 7-day travel adventure along the Konkan coast. She lives in Mumbai. just for context. I was really excited for this one place in particular because it was a fort that I had read the history about in my class at school, and to see it in person would be a crazy experience to say the least. It was surprisingly very sunny and hot on this particular day, even though the weather forecast predicted cool weather and cloudy skies. We reached the fort, and it was everything I dreamed it would be, glorious in its form and fearsome for its history, but nonetheless enthralling. My aunts were tired and didn't want to do the climb of 100 to 200 steps to the top of the fort. So they let me and my brother venture on with the tour guide while waiting for us in a nearby cafe. My brother placed a bet that one who gets to the top wins the one pair of sunglasses in the crouching heat. So we ran, easy to say I won, and he cried like a little baby. And now, with my sunglasses on, we began the tour of the actual fort top. The guide was the guide was telling us stories of how the fort had been prime quarters of many a royalty, and how his stories brought us to the south edge of this 100-meter fort is still a mystery. So they somehow ended up in the south edge of the fort. From the south edge of this castle like structure was truly mesmerizing. The guide pulled, us, pulled us in closer to the history of this beautiful beauty by telling us of the secret passage that the last ruler of this castle had created to escape through the depths of the same sea we were viewing, and least to say he had my brother and me completely enchanted. The spell his story cast on me only broke when I twisted my head towards something that caught my eye on my left, and suddenly it was like every word said to me after was white noise. So she noticed something, after which everything was out of focus in her mind. She was just focusing on that particular thing. I turned around and started walking towards this chamber that had only one entrance and a small crack in its cylindrical walls to call a window. It was the southernmost tip of this fort, and the only light that entered was only visible as you made your way closer. It was like my motor controls were now puppet strings, and I couldn't possibly cut those ties. So she was being pulled into this place. I entered chamber, and one step in, I felt this chill down my spine as I stood there paused, but shivering from inside out, all but shivering from inside out. All I could see was, even with my eyes wide open in the dark, a vision, or more so, a feeling of being trapped, so powerless, so desperate to be free that even death seemed more freeing than these four walls. It came along with a feminine energy and a feeling of being broken inside, like the torture extended from the human shell to the mortal soul. She was afraid of the wind rustling the dried leaves at the entrance of the chamber, because the horror of any sound of movement drove her past any hope of redemption. I was drifting further into this pull when when my brother came and pushed me to get back at me for winning the bet. His smile from teasing faded as he realized I didn't try to get back with a chase like I usually do. Instead, I just stood there. Worried, he shook me and tried calling my name. What's wrong? Blink. Why aren't you blinking? He he exclaimed these words as he saw what he described as the most uncanny feeling he's ever experienced, shaking me back and forth to somehow, anyhow, wake me up. But to this day, this sounds made up to me because I have no memory of this happening whatsoever. The only thing I remember is that isolation and trembling I could feel in that chamber and waking up on the ground later. The tour guide sat me up after lifting me off out of the chamber, and a splash of water to my face brought me back. My aunts were called, and as worried as they were, they tried to call an ambulance, but I was completely fine. No dehydration. I got up and walked a few steps as if my body hadn't just been carried for being corpse like. I assured everyone that I was all right, especially my frantic brother who wouldn't let go of my hand in fear of losing me again. But again, it caught my eye, that chamber. But this time, something didn't pull me in. But every inch of my body told me to run away as soon as possible. On the way back to the hotel, the car being blasted with cool air because everyone was still worried that I had just fainted because of the heat and dehydration. Being the curious kid that I was, I asked the tour guide what that chamber was and why was it so isolated, not conjoining any other structure of the of the fort. He turned around, his gaze troubled as I realized this was a God fearing, superstitious man as I set sight on his neckline decorated with Hindu holy ornaments and his wrist with an Om Kara on it. He exclaimed that the chamber was no ordinary architecture, its purpose, soul and torturous to enslave the women, the second to last royalty captured from other kingdoms. He sought beautiful, and that, after he had his way with them, he would tie them up and keep them in that chamber, isolated, one meal a day, to live the rest of their days where no other man could see them, so no other man could have what's his, the most beautiful woman that only he deserved as prized possession for his victories in war. The story seemed like a brutal tale of unfazed royalty, nothing more, nothing less at the time, like one of those stories you hear about a friend's cat catching a cold. But as I get older and incidents like these keep unfolding, I sit back and wonder what exactly happened that day. Maybe it's true, maybe it was the heat, the sun parching my body, and maybe plain old dehydration from running a 200 flight staircase. Maybe it was all of this together after all, but somehow deep down I couldn't help but shake the feeling that I experienced what that chamber was trying to tell me, or more accurately, why someone who couldn't escape that place was asking me to it in uh, do it in their instead, in their stead. Sorry. And then there's a note which says, "God, this was very long. I'm sorry." So that's the story. She went to a fort. She was in an isolated location with the guide, and they went into a chamber. She went into a chamber, and that chamber had a history, and she could feel the history of that chamber.
It's not that I don't have anything to say. I can't form the words because this story is brilliant. Because this has happened to me as well, where I've gone to a place, and even if I don't know the story behind it, you could just feel it, but not like you faint or anything. But if this happened to your friend, wow. And there are most certainly places, especially these forts, where, like, have you heard about Andaman and Nicobar prison? It was a Kalapani. My, I've heard stories where people could feel the prisoners, either their presence who have died. And yes, my buaji went to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and she told me that when they were touring, they could feel the presence. And similarly, uh, I forgot the name of the place. Jallianwala Bagh massacre ke baad. Yep, there are these haunted places possibly. These places are probably haunted because of the mass, genocide maybe.
Dude, I went to this small structure which was supposed to be a grave or something of a Mughal ruler in Lodi Garden, I think. And it was just a small room, like it was barely this size, right? And there were two graves right here. Fine. Now I couldn't step my foot inside that room for some reason. The other people who were with me, they just went through the room. But I, for some reason, took three big leaps and I ran out of the place because it felt like something.
Hmm.
It felt like a great defeat or something.
Similarly, I remember we went to Agra last year and we visited Akbar's tomb. Akbar's Kabar. you know. So, uh, I don't know if you visited that place, but first you have to uh, walk एक tunnel के through. You
Is it
go
is
under.
it is it near a fort? Is it near the fort or somewhere else?
I don't really remember. It's called Akbar ka Maqbara.
Okay, I went to the fort. I don't know if it's near there. If it is, then I've been to that place. If it's not, then I haven't been to that place.
Maybe if I tell, maybe you'll remember if you have. So you have to go through that tunnel, thoda, and that tunnel becomes shorter and shorter. The roof becomes shorter and shorter as you move in. And then काफी अंदर जाके about some like 80 meters or something, uh, there's this huge room. Like the roof is like so far away from you, and it's a huge room, and it's nothing. It's not even painted. It's just cement, and उसके बीच में there's this the most beautiful grave I've ever seen. Marble से इसमें इतने अच्छी engravement हो रखी है, and उसके ऊपर there's मतलब the room has nothing. It's just a grave. The room has nothing, and उसमें से ना पूरे room में it's kind of like a hall, and उस पूरे hall में they have इतने इतने windows, और वो भी ऊपर है, and there are probably just 4 windows, and उसमें कबूतर ही कबूतर ऊपर roof में. मतलब कि when you speak your voice echoes, तो तुम चिल्ला तो सकते ही नहीं हो, वहां पे कुछ नहीं कर सकते. Plus it would be like very disrespectful if you shout or anything. So that place, I remember being in that place, and कहते हैं ना कि Akbar was really a good ruler. He was the ruler that India deserved. You could feel that. You could genuinely be in that place and tell yourself that yes, this is something that's holy. You could feel that aura, you could feel his presence, you could feel that saintfulness, if that's a word, even though उस room में कुछ भी नहीं है. It's just cement, it's not even painted, but it was also creepy at the same time because because I was getting overwhelmed with that feeling, so we came back right after that.
There are feelings in these places, like I was talking about. And if you go to Taj Mahal, if you go inside the place, there's a feeling of calm in that place, right? Like there's a feeling of that it's settled down to earth. There's no disturbed energy over there. That's a feeling. Even if their graves is way down that level, there's still a feeling of peace there. But this Lodi Garden place just felt like a defeat. It was the aura of defeat. Dude, Mughal history, Mughal architecture, because we especially Delhi don't have as much influence, right? Of the most recent thing we have is the British, who are just idiots. So no matter how grand of things they had built, they weren't able to build nearly as good of a structure as the Mughals. And the Mughal structures fascinate me so much because there are places which are so grand that it can have hundreds of people in that place. But at the same time, like you were saying, there are these corridors which you can't even move through, which are like this and this, right? So it's something fascinating about the structures of India.
I mean, I know कि Qutub Minar wale area mein there are many small tunnels like this. Like they were used for wars, and some of those tunnels even run till Mathura. Mathura, or I guess it was Agra. I guess it was Agra.
Tunnels were basically made to escape. That's the purpose of tunnels, right? Yeah.
This was really heavy. This was overwhelming.
Yeah. And on the same tangent of feeling things in rooms, I have this story by Gigi, whose Insta handle and YouTube ID is That Indian Chick. Please check her out if you haven't already, because I'm pretty sure you have. Sorry?
She's funny. I like her.
Yeah, she's funny. She's funny. She's a friend. We have been talking for a while now. And she released this one story question type of thing where she asked people to submit their ghost stories. Right. And after which, around the same time, I was also contemplating this podcast. And the first topic I had in mind was ghost stories. So I also wanted to ask her about her experiences, but then she released her video, and so that's that. So I asked her permission to tell the story, and this is completely her story. It's in her video called Ghost Stories or something. And the first thing she said after I submitted my story to her was, I shouldn't have done this. Because some of the stories, no, she shouldn't have done this entire question asking thing, people, real stories thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was her first reaction. Then I submitted my story, which was the my room sleep paralysis one. So in the same tangent of this experiencing something in a room of a fort story is her story of Bhangar Fort. She lives in Jaipur and she has been to Bhangar twice. And I am sorry if I butchered the story because I'm saying this just out of memory. So the story goes that the first time she went to Bhangar, she didn't tell anyone in her family. She just took her father's phone, which had a good camera, and she went with her friends. So four of them went to Bhangar the first time she went to Bhangar. Now, the first time her channel was there, she was growing the channel. So she was doing a vlog kind of a thing with that camera, with that phone camera thing, right? So when you, according to her, I haven't been to Bhangar, so I'm just uh, forwarding the story to you in a sense. So when you go to Bhangar, there are these houses which don't have roofs and probably have a lot of history on the way to Bhangar. So there's these houses with no roof because the roofs had fallen already out of time and corrosion. There's a temple, then there's Bhangar, right? She was logging throughout, and uh, when she later checked the video, there was no video. There were just pictures of like in a slide from entry till Bhangar. Then the video started again. And there was no glitch in the camera or the phone because it was a new device. And you don't expect a device to switch from video to burst shoots, as you call them, and then back to videos, right? So that was the first story. This wasn't related to a room. Now the second story is about when she went to Bhangar the second time. This was with her family, and I think her brother and her brother-in-law went with her, and they had these equipments for shooting, right? They wanted to record the experience. And when she was there, um, she witnessed a room at the end of this hallway or a corridor. The room was at the end, and for some reason she couldn't for the life of her approach the room or face her back towards the room. So her brother asked her to take pictures and all, and she wasn't for any reason able to face her back to that room because that was the energy she was getting from the room of, I think, pure terror and suffering, and she wasn't trying to be vulnerable for something to happen. It happens, right? If you're in a dark room and you hear a sound, for the first minute or so you just don't want to turn because you will face something which you don't want to face.
First minute may you get the shivers and the chills,
Yeah,
and you just don't, you get you become a stone basically.
and you don't want to face the thing.
Huh.
In the same way, she wasn't ready to be vulnerable at that moment and face her back towards that particular room, right? After that, they came back and all. And when she got back, when she got those pictures, I think developed, or she just saw those pictures. There were these white lines and all going across the picture, and most of them, or I think the rest of them, were completely whitewashed. They were either completely black or either completely white. And the theory goes that if since we say that spirits can influence devices, right? And if something doesn't want you there or doesn't like your presence, they tend to delete what they tend to erase their existence. And in that process, they erase the entire thing. So that was the second story, which was related to a room in a fort which may have a history and causing people to get vulnerable on that spot. Now, the final story of the session is of her only, and this is about a stay.
So she gave you 3 stories.
She told 3 stories of her on the podcast,
Uh-huh.
or on the video. I asked her permission, and she said, "You can go ahead with it." And this is my narration. So the last one is about a stay at an unknown place. So she had gone to Mumbai for some work, and she was staying at an Airbnb. Now the Airbnb, her part of that Airbnb was secluded to her, so she was comfortable with the living room, the kitchen, and her room with bathroom and all. So she had her own space in that particular place. And the cat, the house had cats and all, which is all right when you're in Mumbai. It's not a big deal to have cats as pets, unlike Delhi. So uh, the first night she was there, nothing happened. The second night she was there, nothing happened. The third night, in her sleep, she felt like someone was pulling her from her bed, holding her. I can't hear you.
और एक जैसे बच्चे को उठाते हैं यहाँ से.
No, from her arms. So she felt like someone was, yeah, so, great. So she felt like someone was pulling her from her arms, and she woke up mid sleep to nothing. There was no spirit, there was no cat, there was no light, there was nothing.
How would a cat be able to, pull her like this?
Because the next morning she woke up, she saw scratches in her arm. Now, the only two, what do you call them? Explanations. The only two explanations for this to happen were either cats, and cats wouldn't pull you out of your bed for any reason, or her scratching herself in sleep.
Do you think she was astral projecting?
No, I don't think. Even if you're astral projecting, you won't have scratch marks, for the least, right? And even if she had scratched herself, she wouldn't be mid on the way in a right angle, right? So she freaked out about that, but then she stayed 10 more days there because she had deposited the fees and all. So then nothing happened. My concern is the entire concept of Airbnb. There's something so creepy about living in someone else's house that I can't even convey. Hotels and all I can still understand because it's a necessity for us, right? And it has been accepted so far to live at a place where other people also stay, but for the time being, it's just your space, right? But living at someone else's house is the creepiest thing that I've ever heard, because it's the conditioning of serial killers, it's the conditioning of ghosts, it's the conditioning of entities you don't want to face. And that's the safety your own house gives you, right? But when you stay at someone else's place, you don't know what to expect. Anything can happen to you. And waking up mid sleep with scratch marks, I would have run I think with the cats, because I can't get a cat in Telugu. So that's the last story of the session. To conclude the session, I would say that from the stories we have heard today, there are possible intruders, there are possible coincidences,
Murderous cats.
there are 100% murderous cats, but I love them.
Ah.
There are possible people from your family who are trying to guide you in the right direction.
Hmm.
There are possible kids
Dead wives.
who are
yeah.
trying to escape the place, and they are
Yeah.
in the purgatory. They are definitely dead wives who don't appear in your pictures. So the entire trip
Send you to
feels,
jail.
yeah, and send you to jail, but you get the final trip of your life.
Mhm.
There are dead psychopath daddy spirits. There are rooms in really, 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 really old places which are definitely haunted.
Torturous chambers.
Yeah. There are empty fields. Chalawas, right. There are chalawas. There are people living in my friend's old place who are not people and throwing metal sticks and all, rods and all at fences. And at the same time, there's someone on his bed breathing behind his neck. Now, if I add the previous stream as well, there are people who your father have seen who are supposed to be haunted, and my previous society is definitely haunted.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the stream. The reason why I'm so unbright right now is because it's about night time, and we have finally shot the final second episode to this.
Yes, and it was really honestly overwhelming for me. Yeah, I don't know if it was for you.
I've read the stories before, ना तो क्या करूं, अब हो गया.
मेरे लिए तो overwhelming था काफी.
Because it's the first time you are seeing this. It's the first time our viewers are seeing this. The 50 of them.
All right, well.
Okay, so
let's
this
see
is
you in the next one.
big what?
I'm saying let's see you guys in the next one, and I'll see you in the next one too.
Yes, for the next episode thing, I'm thinking of doing an introduction of who we are and why this channel and what we do, because we haven't done that.
Definitely.
We started a channel and the first episode we did was about random stuff, and the second episode we did was about ghosts, and we still haven't introduced ourselves.
Yes. We could do one thing. We could introduce ourselves separately, and then you can join the videos, and we could upload that. We would upload a short video like that.
So basically we can upload anything we want because it's our channel. So yes. That's that.
Yes.
Ending the stream now, hoping that we can salvage the video and light doesn't go off at the end of this, because it's been a really long video. So bye.
Yeah. Bye.